I just wanted to give my quick take on this coronavirus pandemic, and I want to read from Mark chapter 4, a story from Jesus' ministry that I think could speak to us. Mark 4:35, on that day, when evening had come, he said to them, "Let us go across to the other side." And leaving the crowd, they took him with them in the boat, just as he was, and other boats were with him. And a great windstorm arose, and the waves were breaking into the boat, so that the boat was already filling. But he was in the stern, asleep on the cushion. And they woke him and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care? We are perishing." And he awoke and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." And the wind ceased, and there was great calm. He said to them, "Why are you so afraid? Have you still no faith?" And they were filled with great fear and said to one another, "Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?" We find that Jesus is in the middle of the storm, but he's asleep, and he appears to be insensitive to the others that are in the storm. And it would seem that if Jesus really cares for them, he would be awake, trying to help them through the storm. And they say, "Don't you even care?" And that's the pivotal question, is we know Jesus cared, but his care was about something way different than their care. You see, the thing that concerned him was their unbelief. And the thing that they should have seen as their real enemy was unbelief. And so I'm hearing a lot of people saying that we need to believe. We need to believe. We need to believe Jesus. Well, believe him for what? What should we believe Jesus for right now? We are taught in this text what the real thing is that Jesus can do. You see, Jesus can calm a physical sea. He can calm physical waves. But through this picture, we're learning that his interest is way bigger than just a storm. His interest is in an eternal storm. That's why it appears that he's insensitive, because he's looking at something they're not looking at. He sees an eternal storm that's waving across humanity, and it's destroying all through sin and guilt. And he is indifferent to this little minuscule storm in comparison to this colossal flood that's wiping out all of humanity in sin and destruction. And the real message is, you ought to be afraid of disbelief, because the disbelief is making you think that Jesus is only here to get you through the coronavirus. That unbelief is an abomination to God. God's call for you to believe is not to get through the virus. Your faith will get you through this virus called sin and destruction that's destroying all of humanity. So my take on the coronavirus is it's a microcosm of a much macro evil that's in this world. We call it scale invariance. The ancient Greeks, Pythagoras, loved the idea of that the microcosm is the same as the macrocosm, that when you look up, you look down. We love these parallels in the universe, that what happens here, if you just change the dilatations, it'll happen here. We love to think about those things, but imagine this, that this earth is just a small scale of this universal scale of things that are going to go down quickly if we don't trust him. And so my encouragement to you is, view this virus as just a small representation of the eternal virus of sin and guilt. View this pandemic as the way Jesus sees it. He does calm the sea, but it's not for the pandemic. It's for the sea, the storm, the virus in your own soul, and that He will ultimately rid that by believing in Him. He is the one that removes the virus. And so believe Him, trust Him. Some of you may be dying right now with the virus. Believing God is not just limited to asking Him to get you through this virus. Believing God is asking Him to get you through sin and guilt and destruction. This is the ultimate virus that He intends to take us through. Hear His words again. The wind and the sea obey Him. So let's believe Him together that He will remove our guilt so we can stand before Him faultless before the throne.